Order. I now call the Standing Committee on Public Accounts to order. My name is Kelly Regan. I'm the MLA for Bedford Basin and the chair of the committee. A reminder to all my colleagues to place their phones on silent. I will ask the committee's members to introduce themselves, beginning with Mr. Young.
Good morning, everybody. Nolan Young, MLA for Shelburne.
MLA Taggart.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Tom Taggart, MLA for Colchester North.
MLA McDonald.
Good morning, John A. McDonald, MLA for Hants East.
MLA Sheehy Richard.
Good morning. Welcome. Melissa Sheehy Richard. I'm the MLA for Hants West.
MLA LeBlanc.
Good morning. Susan LeBlanc, MLA for Dartmouth North.
MLA McGuire.
Good morning, Brendan McGuire, Halifax Atlantic.
MLA Palmer.
Good morning, Chris Palmer, MLA for Kings West.
I will note that officials from the Auditor General's office, the Auditor General actually, Legislative Council office and Legislative Committee's office are in attendance as well. On today's agenda, we have officials with us from the Department of Public Works with respect to their most recent accountability report and business plan. I'm going to ask the witnesses to introduce themselves. I will begin with Deputy Minister, Mr. Hackett.
Good morning, everyone. Peter Hackett, Deputy Minister of Public Works.
And I'm not familiar with like the pecking order, so I'm just doing left to right after that. So, Mr. Peck?
In keeping with the pecking order. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Peck. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the Joint Regional Transportation Agency.
Mr. Peachey.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Peachey. I'm the Chief Engineer for Highway Programs at Public Works.
Mr. Jessome.
Morning, everyone. I'm Gerard Jessome. I'm Chief Executive of Engineering for Building Infrastructure for Public Works.
And Mr. Benoit.
And good morning, Dave Benoit, Chief Executive Officer for Build Nova Scotia.
Thank you, gentlemen. I invite Deputy Hackett to make opening remarks.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for welcoming me here today. I am Peter Hackett, Deputy Minister of Public Works. Here with me today are Mark Peachey, our Chief Engineer of Highway Programs, Gerard Jessome, Chief Executive of Engineering for Building Services, Dave Benoit, CEO of Build Nova Scotia, Mark Peck, CEO of the Joint Regional Transportation Agency. Along with thousands of people at Public Works, much of the work we do centers on building and maintaining critical infrastructure for Nova Scotians. This includes healthcare infrastructure, highways, roads, bridges, schools, and many more projects that were assigned. The list of priorities for our province is long, but we have a dedicated group and we could accomplish government's priorities every year. Public Works has completed 6 of the items laid out in our mandate letter, and we're making progress on all the other items. Last year, we doubled the gravel roads budget and added $60 million more to repaving. This year. And this year, the level of investment continues. We're adding another $15 million to the gravel roads budget. 2 years ago, the budget for the Rural Impact Fund was $11 million. This year, that fund is now $36 million to improve roads. The bridges budget was doubled. We've removed the tolls from the Cobequid Pass for Nova Scotian motorists, and we continue to work on our current and future major projects under the 5-year highway capital plan. Most importantly, we're making progress on government's top priorities, which is fixing healthcare. We have a real plan to build and renovate the buildings we need to deliver better health care for Nova Scotian families. We moved quickly to build more beds, more operating rooms, a bigger emergency departments. Modern, high-quality infrastructure is what our healthcare workers want and what they deserve. It enhances access to services and supports the retention and recruitment of healthcare professionals. The Department of Public Works continues its work with the Department of Economic Development to attract airlines and new national and international air routes to the province. We're doing our part to meet the targets set out in the Environmental Goals and Climate Change Reduction Act. We've conducted more than 100 energy audits on government buildings and another 105th-year plan for 23-24. Finally, we've identified nearly 200 provincial assets that are not core government services, and we are in the process of determining how better to move them forward in the future. These are just some of our mandate responsibilities, but it's a good representation of the work that's happening in my department, and this has happened over the last year. It's a significant amount of activity, and we are lucky to have a dedicated group of professionals doing this work every single day on behalf of Nova Scotians. Thank you, and be happy to take your questions.
So the way this works, refresher course, although I will just say that this is a familiar cast to most of us, that we do rounds of questioning. We begin with the Liberal Caucus, then the NDP Caucus, then the PC Caucus. The first round of questioning is 20 minutes long. The next round will be determined on how much time is left. And when your time is up, I will just call order. I'm not being rude. It's just I'm trying to make sure that each caucus gets the same amount of time. So with that in, and also before you answer, just please wait for the chair to recognize you. So your mic is on. So beginning with Liberal questioning, Mr. Maguire.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you everyone for being here today. I have a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to keep my questions short, and hopefully we can do the same with the answers. All Nova Scotia just reported that the healthcare hotel price, we're calling it the health hotel price now, or healthcare hotel, has reached $50 million and climbing. So that's what they just reported. My question about this is, we know that transportation is usually involved when it comes to larger renovation projects. This is now a $15 million renovation and climbing that was sole sourced to Lindsay Construction. Who decided not to send this contract out for tender?
Mr. Hackett?
So to answer the first part of your question is you are correct that maybe it wasn't a question, but to answer the first part of that is yes, the department is looking after the renovations of this of Hogan Court, so I think you're referring to, and so we're looking after the renovations to that. Our department was assigned the task of looking into how we were going to renovate that as as efficiently and quickly as possible. So the decision was made in our department to do that renovation. The cost, I think you're referring to the $15 million that was discussed somewhere in the media. The $15 million is an approximate number, so I don't think that's an exact figure, because obviously we're in the process of starting that project, and we, the final number isn't there, but that's an approximate number. Yeah, so we were the ones that basically got to the point that procured that renovation.
Mr. Maguire.
So the thing that we keep hearing from this government is as quickly as possible and quick, fast, hard. There's all these adjectives that they're using when they're talking about moving forward. And one of the things that seem to be happening is that the process is being skipped. And I use a comment that was made by the Minister of Healthcare Infrastructure one day on the floor, where he said, we don't have to tender these things. We've heard from the Auditor General that when these projects aren't tendered, and we know from history that there tends to be issues. I think in my eight years in government, we've never seen a project this large not tendered. Is the reason why these projects are not being tendered because the government's mandate is to go quicker? And when you don't tender a project, how do you choose Lindsay Construction over Municipal Group? How do you choose Lindsay Construction over the million different companies out there that we know for a fact there's more than one company that can do this work? So how does the government decide that Lindsay gets this contract and not Clayton and not whoever else is out there?
Mr. Hackett.
So I guess to answer the first part, and then I'm going to send that over to Gerard, Jessome, the second part of that. Yeah, so like I said, we are tasked to look at the renovation of the project. We're looking at trying to get things done as quickly as possible. We aren't trying to, break the rules of procurement or break the rules of government. We are trying to do it, through the right procedures and doing things so that we can get things on the street and get things moving. So we're not in that business and trying to do things under the cloak of darkness. So we did have a process in that particular structure, and I'm going to let Gerard Jessome speak about that a little bit, how we got to choosing Lindsay.
Mr. Jessome.
Thanks for the question, Mr. Maguire. When we were approached to do this project, it's a renovation project. Our client wanted speed was the factor here to get beds quicker, I guess, right? There's an urgent problem at the HI site, so we were asked to help with that and to move this project along as quickly as we possibly could. So we worked when we were given we knew at the onset that in order to do that, we needed a construction lens at the table. We needed somebody that knew construction, so when we were doing renovations, we knew we could, judge schedules and judge budgets quickly, and we needed that lens at the table in a collaborative approach. That's why we approached procurement, and we worked with our procurement colleagues to find a way to engage a contractor or a construction manager fairly quickly, right? So we did. There is standing offers that we have reviewed with procurement. There's a standing offer that NSCC has for construction managers. We evaluated a number of construction managers that were on that standing offer and included those in the evaluation process. That standing offer didn't have all the conditions that we needed for this project, but it was we use it as an evaluation tool to evaluate Lindsay against the other construction managers that were on that standing offer. So again, we worked with procurement, looked at other standing offers across other that we could tap into, but really nothing fit what we were actually looking for. So we did evaluate a number of contractors, construction managers. And we worked with procurement and followed the procurement process of an alternative procurement. We also ensured that we're getting good value for Nova Scotians when we were going through the process, and we evaluated the best company based on the evaluation we did through the standing offer, and we're able to proceed in that manner.
Mr. McGuire.
So it was reported in all Nova Scotia that the current price tag is $15 million. So we'll just say around, give or take, a couple million here or there. As we sit here today, will that price is $15 million a solid number, or will we see increases? Is this thing going to be $20 million, $25 million? Are you confident in the report that said this is a $15 million renovation to a $36 million or $34 million? I mean, we're up to $50 million. So are we confident that this is $15 million renovation?
Mr. Hackett?
Sorry. Well, I can let Gerard speak again to that as well. And I'm not sure if the $15 million is all inclusive in just renovation costs. There's other costs, I think, associated with that too. And I think in the process right now, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Gerard, but I think in the process right now, we're just at the early stages of this with Lindsay getting involved and getting into that renovation. So that's the number they're sort of working with. And as they get into this a bit further, we'll get a better idea where we're at. Before we go to
Mr. McGuire?
So the contract, because we can't get these contracts, unfortunately, and whether it's estimates or on the floor of the House, we can't get these contracts. The minister will not, the Premier and the minister will not give us any information on any of these contracts, even after they're signed, sealed, and delivered. We can't get any of this information. So was the contract that was signed with Lindsay, was it for $15 million, or was it a floating number?
Mr. Hackett?
Yeah. So my understanding, there's more involved than just the construction part, but I'm going to let Gerard speak to that.
Mr. Jessome?
No, the contract for Lindsay is not currently $15 million, right? It was signed for their construction management services, right? So they're providing oversight, they're providing advice on construction, and as a construction manager, they'll manage the contract, the trade. Sorry.
Mr. McGuire?
Is there a dollar sign associated with the contract?
Mr. Jessome?
Yes, there is. Yeah, and I can get that for you. Yeah.
And just so, sorry, can't talk right now. So just so folks know, the clerk does keep track of the requests like that. So we send you a note after the committee is over, and then. Just so you know, you don't have to keep track of everything. She will keep track of that for you. So, Mr. McGuire.
So I'll move on a little bit, and I appreciate the answers. To Mr. Is it Bennett?
Benoit.
Benoit. I apologize, Benoit. The Lunenburg ship potential purchase by the government that came up, that they pulled out of. Was there any? Oh my God, my brain just stopped. Do you ever have one of those moments? That's now on record. That's awesome. was there any cleanup costs associated with that shipyard? So going into that shipyard, obviously, the government and Build Nova Scotia would have assessed the project or assessed the property, the asset. Was there any remediation costs associated after that shipyard was built, or sorry, bought?
Mr. Benoit?
Thank you very much for the question. Just to put that all in context, I arrived in my job on the 23rd of January, so that process was already underway before I arrived. We did, in the end, I was there when we concluded it. And so as I got briefed on the file, what I was told was that, this is the type of strategic infrastructure that Build Nova Scotia is to be looking for, and that the province should be paying attention to, because it's the type of infrastructure that's not easily redeveloped or easily built over a short period of time if it's absolutely needed. The province put a bid in, as is per the record, the public record, and then we conducted the due diligence that would be associated with that. All of that kind of proceeded before I arrived in my actual position, and on the conclusion of that, we determined that it was not as it was recorded publicly, that it was not something that the province needed to pursue because of because there are other bidders in the mix, and I think it was mentioned that it wasn't something that the taxpayers needed to cover in terms of the property.
Mr. McGuire.
I appreciate the answer, but the question was, when the province did its due diligence, did they see any remediation costs associated with the Lunenburg shipyard? So was there any extra costs? So after the purchase, if the purchase would have went through, were the taxpayers on the hook for any type of remediation of the site?
Mr. Benoit.
Okay. Well, thank you for the clarification. And so, as part of that process, we were given confidential information about the site that unfortunately because of we're not allowed to talk about. I'm not allowed to talk about because of the arrangement under which we got access to that information. And so, I would not want to speculate on further than that, because I wouldn't want to put myself in a position where, or the province in a position where we would have breached that agreement.
Mr. McGuire.
Thank you for that. I will say, for the record, it was reported that there was a remediation cost associated with the Lunenburg shipyard, and that was one of the reasons why they were having such difficulty selling the shipyard, is because there was a larger cost associated with it. I know that you came on later on, and obviously this doesn't rest on your shoulders, but I will say that it is very disappointing. It's very concerning that the province, if not caught by the Auditor General in this committee, was moving forward with the purchase of the Lunenburg shipyard at, I think, twice the cost of the private sector offer, with a potential multi-million-dollar price tag associated with remediation for the site. And so I'm now glad that you're at we have somebody of your capability and a full-time CEO, and we just hope that these type of things don't happen again. I mean, quite honest, if we would not have caught that, and the Auditor General would not have caught that, we were probably looking at a $10 million bill with purchase and remediation for a piece of property that the private sector did not see that type of value. And so I would just say that Build Nova Scotia is in charge of a lot of money, in charge of a lot of investments, and in charge of a lot of people's future. And it's a big responsibility. So looking forward to see what you do. Let's move on back to transportation. when can we expect more details on the healthcare redevelopment? So again, we're seeing, and we just went through estimates. We're now going through the shortest house session, budget house session in the history of the province, which is, when you think about it, is absolutely insane. But that's not on you guys. We did not get any answers on the healthcare redevelopment. What we kept getting was, well, this is something that we can't release. We don't have the timelines. We can't release the timelines. We can't release the price. There's a lot of secrecy around this. So what I would like to know is, can we expect more details on the healthcare redevelopment? And when can we get year-over-year basic timelines and estimates of cost? So when, again, I will say, listening to the Auditor General, when we hear about these projects, and historically, and I'm not saying in Nova Scotia, but I'm saying just historically, when these projects have this level of secrecy around it, and this from a government standpoint, not from a department standpoint, from a government standpoint, and when a government's not releasing the details in a timely manner, and when there is no competition on these bids, this is when projects balloon. And one of the things that really concerns me about these government's taglines and slogans and hashtags and everything else they want to do to make it look like they're doing something is it's faster, harder, quicker, but not better. It's not done right. It's not done with consultation, and it's not done with an eye on public dollars. So my question is when can we see more transparency around these projects? Because right now there is absolutely, as a healthcare critic, there's absolutely none. And that's very troubling from a government standpoint.
Mr. McGuire, you have just over 4 minutes left. Mr. Hackett.
So I'm going to start this, and then I'm going to get it over to Mr. Benoit as well. So I just want to, I'll talk a little bit about the project itself. I've been involved with this now for a little while, since I took the position back in September of 2021. Just so people are aware, the HI project and even the Cape Breton project are legacy projects. They're very big. The HI project is it rivals some of the bigger projects in Canada, maybe even in North America right now for healthcare. And it's and it will be legacy. It will be many years to come. It'll feed the province, and it'll help the people of Nova Scotia. So because of the size of the project and where it sits and where they want to get to, with this is the Department of Health and the Health Authority, it's taken a few turns through the process. Obviously, it's challenging because of its size. It's challenging because of the workforce. It's challenging because of materials. And you saw back in last June that one of the bidders did drop out of the process. We have one bidder still in it. We are still in a procurement process that hasn't stopped, and that's probably what some of the information you're looking for is not getting out, because we are in procurement. But when you talk about one bidder, and just in the defense of the project, is that it was still procured. It was still procured with bidders. We shortlisted it. We got down to 2, and one bidder dropped out of the process. So it is because of the size of the project, you're not going to get a lot of bidders for this type of work. You're going to end up having it was competitive, and that's where we're at now with one proponent that we are working with to get to the finish line. So I just want to make that clear that it is a very large and substantial project, and a very good project for Nova Scotians. But I will ask Mr. Benoit just to continue that, just to answer the remainder of your question on the issues with regard to timelines.
Mr. Benoit.
Thank you very much for the question. And just to continue on from Mr. Hackett's initial explanation, we continue to have internal estimators and experts advising us throughout this process, and so we continue to be able to make sure that we get value for money for Nova Scotians in regards to the overall project. And from a timeline perspective, we are expecting early works to begin, would be later this summer, or earlier this summer, and these would be focused on things that we know need to get done to the site in order to prepare it regardless. And then we also expect financial close, so when we get all the final details in early part of 2024, in the spring of 2024.
Mr. McGuire, minute and a half.
I was actually there at the press conference when this project was announced, and I was actually standing by the developer, the proponent, and when the Premier said that cost is not an issue, I've never seen anyone smile bigger in my life, right? And I think it's troublesome when we have a Premier talking about a project of this magnitude, and when asked by the media what is the cost associated with it, get aggressive toward them and say to them, that's not a concern. Well, it is a concern because this is taxpayers' money. So you said that you had estimated costs within the department. Where are we at on the QE2 redevelopment rebuild? What is the estimated cost as of today? If you had to put a number on the scope of this project and the total cost, where are we at today?
Mr. Benoit?
Thank you very much for the follow-on question. And so the estimators are not unique to what we're doing right now. They've been along with us for the whole journey right from the beginning, from the very start. And it's part of the due diligence process that the province uses, or that any actually project uses, in order to make sure that we continue to have that value for money. And so those individuals continue to update the numbers. They continue to work with our internal experts, and they continue to provide.
Order. Time for Liberal questioning has elapsed. We'll now continue with NDP questions. MLA LeBlanc.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Benoit, if you want to just finish that answer quickly, I'm happy to hear it.
Mr. Benoit?
Thank you. And so we continue to work with them in a very collaborative way, both with our proponent and with our, obviously with the internal estimators, in order to make sure that we continue to have value for money. It is an open procurement, as Mr. Hackett has mentioned, and so, it'd be reckless, irresponsible of me to start saying what we think the cost is, because that's what the cost will turn out to be. It would be equivalent to saying to somebody, I have this much money to build this, could you build me for that much money? Well, the answer is probably yes. And so, but what I can tell you is that, as this information becomes available, like as we get through the process, then it's the intent to make it transparent.
Ms. LeBlanc?
Thank you. I guess I hear that, I understand what's happening here, but I don't understand how, if there's only one proponent, we can make sure we're getting value for money. What's the alternative to their offer? If you say, I've got 50 million or whatever, 50 billion to build this thing, and they're like, yeah, actually we can only do it for 55, then, how do you know that's true? How do we know we're getting value for money in that situation?
Mr. Hackett?
I can start.
Sorry,
that.
I should have taken my glasses off so I can see you.
Oh, that's okay. I can start it, and then.
Okay.
So as Mr. Benoit mentioned, the estimators inside the department that are working for us would basically look at the estimates, what we're looking at, how the cost would be, and comparing that to what we would be getting from the contractors. And they also don't just compare that with with what they're getting here. It's also compares to other projects across the country, with other builds across the country, square footage, and so on and so forth.
Madam Chair?
Ms. LeBlanc.
So, thank you. But what leverage do we have in making a deal? We can say, is this the leverage? We know that these projects are being done for less elsewhere. How come you can't? But also, where does the buck stop? Do we say, okay, fine, we're not dealing with you, and then the project is on hold again? Is that is that a contemplation? If we can't get value for money from the main proponent right now, do we pause?
Mr. Hackett.
That would be a decision of government, but it is an option. If they decided that the price was certainly of a certain magnitude that they didn't want to afford, that they could certainly walk away from the project, right? I don't think it's a blank check, and that's what Build Nova Scotia is working with on this, is that they're trying to get into a spot that they feel comfortable that this would be value for money for the project, and that's what they're working with the proponents.
Ms. LeBlanc.
Okay, thanks. I just want to go back to the healthcare hotel. I think we should call it the Hogan Healthcare Hotel. And I just want to understand a little bit more about the tendering process, or the way that we cannot tender. So and forgive me because I am ignorant to this, but is there a top number or a number where if it goes above we must tender, like according to the laws of the land of the province, or or are there ways around a tendering process? And if we don't do a tendering process, do you have to tick off boxes to satisfy the reasons why?
Mr. Hackett?
Yeah, there is through the procurement, internal services and the procurement department, there is the Procurement Act, and you got to follow the Procurement Act, or whatever the transparency and fairness on the Procurement Act. But there's many different ways to procure items, and there's whether it's by alternate procurements or low bids. There's construction managers, there's management, there's P3s. There's all kinds of ways to go through those, and so in this particular process, we followed a process that was in line with the procurement policies, I guess I would say, to get what they wanted to get to, the client, what they wanted to get get this process started. But I'll let Mr. Jessome kind of finish off where we were with how we got there, if you're okay with that.
Mr. Jessome.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, so in this project, we felt to meet the timelines, quick timelines, and to get action on site very quickly, we needed a construction lens at the table with the designers, and that construction lens was a construction manager who's an expert in construction techniques, can advise on schedule, can advise on impacts of moving a wall, how much schedule impact there. So we needed that lens very quickly at the table when we were sitting down with our clients, with their clinical folks, and envisioning what this project would be and what it would look like in the end. So that's why we went down this road, and we worked with our colleagues in procurement through an alternative procurement process to engage Lindsay.
Ms. LeBlanc.
So, sorry, flipping back again to my previous question, because I just, anyway, when Mr. Hackett, when you mentioned about the estimators in the department, doing the work and comparing, and then putting it against the proponents' schedules and estimates, is there anything that the department produces that can be released publicly that's not connected to the proponent, but so it's not like proprietary information, but it's like the work that the department is doing? Can that be released publicly so that the public has some kind of touchstone on the work?
Mr. Hackett.
So my understanding would be no, not at this point, because it's all estimates, and they wouldn't be. We would be working internally for the purposes under the procurement at this point. But I will ask Mr. Benoit if he adds anything else about this particular project. I don't think normally we wouldn't do that under when we're in procurement stages, we wouldn't release any estimates.
Mr. Benoit.
Thank you very much for the question. And no, I have nothing further to add from what Mr. Hackett mentioned.
Ms. LeBlanc.
So I just want to ask quickly about RFPs in general. As you may remember, a couple of years ago, an RFP went out to amalgamate the mental health and addiction services in Dartmouth. There was a number of different small locations in downtown Dartmouth, and then an RFP went out to put them all under one roof. And it was supposed to be, the idea was that, the preference was that they would be in downtown Dartmouth or in North Dartmouth. But no bids came in. No one came in to be able to do that work in that location. And so then the RFP went to, or the project went to a company that was willing to put the space into another building that was being built way out in Portland Hills. Anyone just ring bells? Anyone? No? Honestly? Oh my God. So anyhow, and when everyone was questioned about that in mental health and addictions and in the health department, it was like, well, nobody bid on the thing, so we had to do it over here, which was a big mess. Lots of criticism about it, and in the end, sounds like a lot of it's moving back downtown into Dartmouth North, actually, to a rented space. So feels like a little bit of a wasted amount of money there in some way. Anyway, my point is, if an RFP goes out and there's parameters around location or whatever, and then there's no bidders, is it not possible, as we see with the with the hotel project, is it not possible for government to step in and just get it done anyway? How does that work? Is the there's no bidders a legitimate reason for not doing a project as planned?
Mr. Hackett.
Once again, I'll start this and then I'll probably hand it off for a more detailed answer. But so when you go through a process of procurement and there's no bidders come to that procurement, there's a number of things that you can do. And I don't want to speak on behalf of the procurement department or ISD. They have their rules and they have their processes, and we follow those. And there's details, and probably they could tell you better on some of the ways these happen. But from my experience, when we get into those situations, we can go to an alternate procurement. We can sometimes go to sole source if that's the only person that we go to. We can go to invite at that point. There's other ways we can get around this. We've done that because we went to the street and then we had to work through procurement to get to another conclusion. We rescoped the project to see if we can go back to the street and see if someone else would bid it, make it more appetizing for somebody else. So there's ways around doing it. But like I said, we would do it with the help of procurement. And I just asked Gerard, he's had some experience in these before too, just to elaborate on that a little bit.
Mr. Jessome.
Deputy, I think you covered it very well. Certainly, we would work very closely with procurement to find a solution to build a project. Yeah.
Ms. LeBlanc, 10 minutes.
Thanks. That's great to know, and gives me more more information to go back to, when those kinds of things happen. I want to ask a little bit about the joint transportation strategy, or the agency, I should say. So my first question is, our caucus has had difficulty obtaining a terms of reference for, or any strategitic framing for the Joint Regional Transportation Agency. We're glad to see a CEO finally appointed, but we were wondering if it's possible to get more information about how the agency is going to work and what the priorities are. So is that something that's being formulated? Can we have that? And I'm also wondering...
That's these guys.
Perhaps we'll
I'm also wondering if there's any thoughts to having similar joint transportation agencies in other centers in the province that are quickly growing.
I think we'll just take a minute here to appreciate the delicious irony. No, I'm just kidding. We will proceed, Mr. Hackett.
It's actually for Mr. Peck.
Yeah, I'll put it.
Okay, Mr. Peck.
Thanks very much for the question. So there was two parts. The first part is what's our mandate, kind of what's the plan. Terms of reference. So the terms of reference are really set forth in Bill 61. So Bill 61 is the Joint Regional Transportation Act, which sets forth the guidelines and the to-dos for the Joint Regional Transportation Agency. And I think it's section 26, subsection 1, that states that we have to provide a master transportation plan to the minister. And then the minister will then submit it to Governor and Council. So that, in essence, is the terms of reference for the work of the Joint Regional Transportation Agency. The second part, in terms of the deliverables of the Joint Regional Transportation Agency, the primary focus, one, is that master transportational plan and the regional transportation plan. It's currently focused. You read the act and it talks about the municipalities defined as Halifax Regional Municipality. But there's also the 14 other municipalities that I'll describe it as the one-hour commutership that are involved in the development of this regional transportation plan or this master transportation plan. So we're going to focus on that area first, and then, you know, that's probably years out. I can't estimate, but right now that's the primary focus is the 14 municipalities and including HRM.
I'll just point out to my colleagues that the kind folks at the committee's office have provided us with earpieces if we would like to use them, because it's a lot easier to hear with those. Ms. LeBlanc.
Thank you. And can you, Mr. Peck, talk at all about how the work that you're doing will be linked, at least in the HRM, to the special planning areas work, and if you're working together or how that's happening?
Mr. Peck?
Thanks very much for the question. The work is connected. So if you think about a regional transportation plan, it's connected with the inner workings of government in terms of healthcare, in terms of housing, in terms of education, and in terms of the work of municipal government. What I will say is that it is connected, and it has to be connected. We've met on several occasions with members of the Housing Task Force to ensure that some of their thoughts and ideas align with the potential work and deliverables of the Joint Regional Transportation Agency. So what I will say is that HRM have done tremendous work in terms of transportation. And what we need to do is to ensure that the plan that is brought forward to government takes into account housing, education, healthcare, other communities within HRM and without, and the other municipalities as well.
Ms. LeBlanc, 6 minutes. No, sorry, 5 minutes.
Are you contemplating in all of that work our climate goals? And also, do you have the first thing you said about you mentioned the subsection of the bill that requires a plan. What's the timeline for that?
Mr. Peck?
I'm good, Madam Chair. Good. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the question. The timeline is a deliverable by November of 2024, I believe, is the estimated target to have the draft plan presented. And I think that, yeah, and it does take into consider climate goals as well, absolutely, in terms of the net zero.
Ms. LeBlanc.
Okay, I want to ask a little bit about climate because I'm running out of time. So a few years ago, the province identified around 100 public buildings that could have had small-scale wood heat systems installed, which is a more efficient and green option than, I guess, oil-fired boilers. What is the progress of the project, of that project? How many wood heat systems have been installed? How many will be this year? When will all 100 be installed? And what is the budget for this? I'm trying to get all of that in my time.
Mr. Hackett.
Yeah, so there was a pilot project done. I believe that Mr. Jessome can talk a bit more about that, and some of the details we may have to provide after this as well with regard to cost and where we are with the overall process. But maybe, Gerard, you can elaborate a little bit on where we were with the pilot.
Mr. Jessome? Mr. Jessome? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the question. No, I'm very excited about wood heat. I think the province is doing some great work there. We worked, Public Works worked with our colleagues at Department of Natural DNNR to, they kind of led the first phase of the project to install wood heat in a number of provincial-owned buildings across the province. That was completed and successful. Internally, we do a lot of work in public works in our own buildings that we manage across the province. We look for opportunities for wood heat. We see them as being very efficient and very short payback period, so we'll take every opportunity to ensure that wood heat is in our buildings where it can be and it's feasible.
Ms. LeBlanc?
Thank you. That's great, but it would be great to have the answers to those particular questions too. Just I know that the clerk is nodding. So the government included the following targets for active transit in the Environmental Goals and Climate Change Reduction Act. A, to establish a provincial active transportation strategy to increase active transportation options by 2023. That's this year. And to complete core active transportation networks that are accessible for all ages and all abilities in 65% of the province's communities by 2030. Can the department please provide an update on the development of the provincial active transportation strategy? Who's involved in the work? What is being considered for inclusion in the strategy, and when will it be available?
Mr. Hackett?
So I'm just going to refer to my notes here. Thank you. So we're doing some consult. We are consulting with our internal, external partners and what's going on with the active transportation strategy and implementation of the goals, as you mentioned, and looking at the governance structure of the active transportation. The Environmental Goals and Change Reduction Act received royal assent in 2023 or 2021, and the provincial active transportation strategy was done in 23. The provincial active transportation team is led by Public Works, which includes members from the Department of Health and Wellness, Municipal Affairs, Housing, Natural Resources and Renewables, Communities, Culture, Tourism, Heritage, Environment and Climate Change, and Education and Child Development. So the committee is put together, and the strategy, the interests of government initiatives are shared by the Trails, Nova Scotia Accessibility Act, the Action Plan for Education, and Let's Get Moving. So the process has just begun. The group is just getting together. The governance of that group is getting together. So we'll be able to give you a bit more of an update as things kind of progress forward. There hasn't been really anything tangible at this point, but just getting that going forward.
Ms. LeBlanc, you have 11 seconds.
Well, in my next time, I'm going to ask about the Migratory Birds Convention Act, if anyone wants to get ready for that question.
Order. We will now move on to the PC Caucus. MLA Young.
I can't help but hear the sounds of an expanding economy, good-paying jobs, and how are we going to get them here? Roads, roads, roads. So switching gears to roads, there's extra capital on asphalt and gravel. Can you talk about what this money's going to be spent on?
Mr. Hackett?
I will defer that question to Mr. Peachey. Thanks.
Mr. Peachey?
Certainly. Thanks for the question. We are currently, we've been given an extra $60 million for asphalt and $15 million for gravel roads. And we're going through a similar process that we do with our capital plan as we speak, where we go across the province to each of our managers, establish the list that they've got of roads that need attention, with a focus on local roads, trunks and routes is the plan right now. And obviously for the gravel roads, we have internal criteria where we'll identify those through lists that are established internally.
Mr. Young.
Now, I'm wondering, could you take me through the process, how the department manages capital work, or manages tendering the capital work to get their projects completed within time frames?
Mr. Peachey?
So essentially, thank you for the question. To get I think I heard you correctly that you're wondering about how we establish the... Yeah, so when we tender our work, we want to put out our tenders as early as possible in the year. We also want to put set completion dates on each one of those tenders, and often we'll put liquidated damage associated with them so that there's a bit of a motivation for the contractors to get that work done in a timely manner.
Mr. Young.
How's the government supporting community transportation?
Mr. Hackett?
So just a really quick one on that. So last, in the 22-23 budget, we spent, I guess overall for community transportation, we spent $28.6 million across the province. And there was a number of different initiatives that were taken as part of that. There was Community Transportation Dispatch Solutions, which was a centralized dispatching for community transit around the province that didn't have that. That'll take effect sometime in 2024 that we're working on. There was the Rural Transportation Solutions Fund, which was $250 million over 5 years that we're helping with local transit and transit communities. There was the COVID Relief Fund. There's a project with the EHS projects that allow more people to be using community transit to get to hospitals than calling EHS because they didn't have transportation. So that's a process that we're working on as well. And then there's some other options outside of the communities, such as the Climate Change Initiative for community transit, using more community transit and the cost with that. And it was spread, the finance that I mentioned earlier was spread across the entire province and on many of the local transit, the transit divisions, I guess. Some are very small and some are much larger, like here in HRM. Okay.
Mr. Young.
Yeah. One more question before I pass to my colleague. Directed, I think, at Mr. Peck. I'm wondering if you could talk about any of the progress that the Joint Regional Transportation Agency has been making.
Mr. Peck?
Thank you for the question. So I'm 9 weeks in. I think it's 8 weeks, 3 days in. And so this will be, I'll try to be brief, but this is typically not my style. So the act was November of 2021, and since then, the Joint Regional Transportation Agency had appointed an interim CEO, Guy DeVaux. And the work that Guy did really was from having to create an organizational structure. And Guy had to hire staff, had to look for space, had to create an office, had to hire employees, and that work has been done. And look, I'd be missing an opportunity to say to recognize Guy's great work in terms of establishing the organization with me coming in 9 weeks ago. Some of the staff that we've hired, I would say, are some of the best in the industry. We have Tanya Davis, who's been hired as the lead. She's a transportation agency with years experience in the transportation sector. Dave Espeseth, planner, and who is second to none in the industry as well. Justin Tanner, we acquired Justin Tanner from Public Works, who's an engineer as well. And between Dave and Justin and Guy, they created requests for proposals for the work that's currently underway. So those requests for proposals were released and went through the process, and we were successful in awarding 3 requests for proposals. One was issued to a company, HDR, and they're recognized in the transportation world. I would say as a company on the leading edge of transportation. HDR did work in Edmonton, Moncton, Vaughan, and they did the work in the Greater Horseshoe transportation system in Toronto. They're leading that work for us, and that work is underway. That's one part. So in terms of progress, second part, we hired a company, WSP, who are also working in concert with HDR. And WSP are doing what I would call leading edge work in the industry, and they're looking at the movement of people and goods throughout this area, which will not only be HRM focused, but also within I call it the 1 hour commutership. Their work is also partnered with Dr. Eric Miller of the University of Toronto, and Dr. Miller is well respected in the transportation industry or transportation sector, and he's working with WSP and working with the Joint Regional Transportation Agency. They too have been to Halifax. We've met with them. Their work continues. They're doing household surveys in terms of the movement of people throughout. We've had, and then we have a company called Believe Co. that's helping us assist with the creation of a website, which we hope will go live, I'm hoping, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Right now we're without a website, but we'll have one up and running, which will have more information that we'll be able to share in the Joint Regional Transportation Agency. So the work is underway. It's look, it's what I would describe as transformational. We're looking to grow. The population is growing. We're over the million, and the trend points to a doubling of the population by 2060. And in order to accommodate that population growth, we need a good transportation plan. And so that work is underway. So there's a lot of work underway. We have a small but mighty team, and yeah, it's exciting. I'm really excited about this transformational opportunity, so thank you.
Now I believe we will go to Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pardon me. One of the main things I always hear back, and I'm sure most here, is roads and safety. So I just want to know, and I'm not sure who the deputy wants to put this to, but the 5-year plan, can we get some progress and anybody want to highlight some nice accomplishments?
Mr. Hackett?
Yeah, I can speak a bit to that, and I can put a little over to Mr. Peachey as well. So in the past 5-year plan that we were completed this last fiscal year, we creeped further towards opening up our 100 Series highway twinning projects, and some of those will be completed this year in 23-24. Highway 104 in Antigonish will be completed this year. Looking at Highway 107 late in the year, and the 103 down to Hubbards, which should be completed this year. So those are big impact projects that will that create help with the capacity of the highway and create a lot more safety when you get a twin highway. And then for this year, I'll pass it over to Mr. Peachey on his program. What they've announced the new projects coming forward.
Mr. Peachey?
Yep, thank you very much for the question. I'll start a little bit smaller and work my way up to the major stuff, I guess. This is another strong capital program with an envelope of about $215 million. Major will see $220 million of expenditure. We'll be spending approximately $170 million on asphalt, $55 million on gravels, $60 million again on bridges, as we've doubled the bridge program in the last couple of years. We have some money set aside for our equipment as well. There will be 18 bridges, major bridges worth over $2 million that are set for this year. There'll be some 100 series paving done, about $20 million for that. Through the gravel road program, we anticipate that we will improve 500 kilometers worth of roads approximately this year. Be over 600 kilometers of paving. And kind of dovetailing to what the deputy mentioned earlier, we did announce earlier, government announced that there will be $584 million worth of new major capital, which we're starting to work on now. Staff are starting to do the environmental assessments and that sort of thing, like acquiring land, which would be the 103 Argyle interchange, continuing the twinning down the 103 between exit 7 and 8, and from 8 to 9. Sorry, 6 to 7, 7 to 8. And they'll also be working on twinning of the 107 from Burnside to Loon Lake, which is an extension of the work that's happening now. And also another continuing section which we're putting in place of the 104 twinning from Taylor Road to Puttenkeck. I think that answers that for now. Thanks.
Mr. McDonald?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great for them to start after you finish to take a break. The noise. The rural impact mitigation. Can you explain it to, like I love to say, the millions watching this so they understand what it is? Because we love using acronyms, RIM, but until I was in government, I had no idea what RIM is other than the top of a coffee. So could you actually explain that and give a breakdown of how it's actually divvied out amongst the province?
Sure.
Mr. Peachey.
Thank you for the question. So RIM is our Rural Impact Mitigation Program. We have capital work where we do the bigger jobs, which is TCA work. This is operating based, and it's smaller contracts set out across the province with usually smaller contractors that will perform the work. We do work such as asphalt patching, shoulder graveling, gravel patching, brush cutting. We've put a big emphasis on brush cutting in the last couple of years, ditching, guardrail, and in the last couple of years we've done some shoreline protection as well. So in terms of how we divvy it up, I'll just refer to my notes here. So our standard program, as you know, government doubled the program from 11 to 22 million in the last couple of years. So through that we're doing about $9 million worth of asphalt patching, $5 million worth of gravel patching. Shoulder gravel will be about $2.5 million. Brush cutting on the core would be $2 million. Ditching is $2.5 million, and shoreline protection is $1.4. But as the deputy alluded to earlier in this budget, there's going to be an additional $14 million worth of work, and that's not a coincidence because we have 14 area managers across the province. So essentially each area manager is going to get an additional $1 million of work within their area. And that will be, we're putting a big emphasis on brush cutting. We've met with a number of MLAs, all the MLAs across the province, and one of the biggest things that's come to the surface is brush cutting. So we're putting approximately 60% of that $14 million towards brush cutting, and then supplementing those other items that I discussed earlier.
Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm not sure who this, I'll let Deputy Minister. So as everybody's aware, supply chain issues have caused issues with every industry, and government's not any different. So can anybody explain how that's impacting our project timelines and some costs?
Mr. Peachey. Sir.
Yeah, so for the highway program side of things, we've certainly encountered those issues. We've seen those, it could be anything from the line painting that we have on the roadways. There's been challenges and delays through the manufacturer in the US getting that material. So that's pushed it out later into the year, typically when we would normally do it. We've seen that with equipment that we purchase, delays in obtaining that. And then in the construction side of the business, we are seeing cost escalations and challenges of getting things through the supply chain, particularly around bridges, whether it be through steel components, concrete components, and that trickles into the labor force as well, because the form work and that sort of stuff that has to be done is causing delays, which has driven up the pricing as well.
Mr. McDonald. Over to Ms. Sheehy-Richard. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just will jump right in. In your opening remarks, you talked about identifying nearly 200 provincial assets that are not core government services, and that you're looking at the best way to determine how to move these forward. Can you let me know, or let the committee know, are these assets distributed across the province?
Mr. Hackett?
Yeah, so I can start. Mr. Jessome may answer elaborate a bit more, but yeah, they will be right across the province. I think we have about 2,400 assets that we look at, and as far as building assets are concerned, not land assets. We have a lot more than that, but they will be right across the province. I don't know if, Gerard, you want to elaborate a bit on that too?
Mr. Jessome?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, we have a great team at Building Infrastructure Management Group that really manages those assets, right? They look at opportunity. They're completing energy audits now across the province on all of our owned assets, right? So those will feed into better, to our goals for climate resiliency and net zero, right? So yeah, we have a large challenge there, but we got a great team that manages those assets in every nook and cranny of the province, includes plow sheds, includes any provincial buildings, all those types of infrastructure. Yep.
Ms. Sheehy Richard.
Okay, that was kind of my next question, was like, what would be some of the examples that those assets might be? And can you determine on, you said, you know, how best to use them moving forward. Could you elaborate on maybe what they might be considered for moving forward?
Mr. Jessome?
Well, yeah, so those assets could include salt sheds, plow sheds, mechanical branches for public works folks and doing their road maintenance, provincial buildings to provide services for Nova Scotians, right? So all those, you know, when the buildings, I guess, are deteriorated to a point or they require more maintenance, we always look at, you know, what do we replace that building with going forward, right? So what type of structure there? Can we combine services? Can we look at with other departments and co-locate? So we always look at those opportunities if we need new, if we have to replace an existing structure that is deteriorated to the point that we can't maintain it efficiently.
Ms. Sheehy Richard.
Thank you for that answer. That clarifies that up. I wasn't quite sure what that would entail, but now I can see how that is a good thing to be doing right now. And also having safe transportation infrastructure is also core of your department's services. So can you discuss in a little bit more detail how the department determines where safety improvements are needed on highways and what those safety improvements might be?
Mr. Peachey?
Thank you for the question. So we would have staff continually interacting with the public, with elected officials, and doing internal studies. Safety improvements, we have an allotment within the capital program that we set aside each and every year for things like it could be intersection improvements, it could be lane extensions for acceleration ramps, passing lanes, climbing lanes, things like wildlife fencing to prevent animals from getting onto predominantly the 100 series highways, wildlife tunnels, that sort of thing. So we identify those internally and put those on the capital plan accordingly.
Ms. Sheehy Richard, 1 minute.
I can make a comment on the deer tunnel because of my twinning project. And when I had a tour with the minister, that was one of the things that we looked at was like where the deer tunnel was. So I got to see actually the little path that the deer are taking and using the tunnel to cross, which is anytime we drive by there could be 12, 15 deer grazing in the field. So that would be something that you're looking at on probably the new more projects. Would that include when you're paving trunk routes, maybe a little widening of the road shoulder? Would that be considered when you do the bike accommodations? Is that something that you would consider under that budget as well?
Mr. Peachey, 10 seconds.
So when we're doing trunks and routes, yes, we do look at blue route. In terms of safety accommodations, we may have rumble strips down the center line.
Order. Time for PC caucus questioning has elapsed. We will now move back to the Liberal caucus. Everybody's getting 14 minutes today. Mr. McGuire.
All right, let's get into it. So the $15 million that was reported that I had said was actually came from the minister. So the minister said to the media that there was a $15 million fee associated with Lindsay Construction. So my question to the department or to Build Nova Scotia is, what is the management consultant fee for Lindsay Consultant to manage this project? How much of that $15 million is for management fees?
Mr. Hackett.
Yeah, I think Mr. Jessome answered that question last round, that we would get that to you. Is that correct, Gerard, I think? Or maybe you can answer that part.
Mr. Jessome?
Yes, that's correct. We can get you that information, Mr. McGuire.
Mr. McGuire.
So to clarify, I'm looking specifically for how much Lindsay Construction is being paid to manage this project. A project that would normally be managed, correct me if I'm wrong, by the department. So the department has the engineers and the expertise, and we've seen them take on some very large projects in the past. And I would argue that the renovation of a hotel is probably not outside the scope of the department's expertise, but it's now been outsourced. So I would like to know specifically how much is being paid. And also the other thing that kind of triggered me here a little bit was like got the wheels, the hamster turning in my head, was who's in charge of the costs of this project? So Lindsay, who stands to profit, is the management construction is in charge of the management of this project. So as the price of this project goes up, it would make sense that Lindsay would probably make more money from this. So what is the ceiling on this project? So we know right now that the floor is $15 million because that came from the minister. We know that Lindsay is now in charge of the renovations, not the department that usually is in charge. So what is the ceiling on this project for renovations, cost-wise?
Mr. Jessome?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, I just go back a little bit, Mr. McGuire, regarding Lindsay is a construction manager, right? We don't, we definitely have good expertise within Public Works. We have a great team, but when we have a construction project, we hire a general contractor, we hire a construction manager to help manage those contracts for us, right? It's just the normal way we do business. We work with them as a team in getting the infrastructure built, right? So in this case, Lindsay is a construction manager. They work directly for us. They take direction from the Public Works team, who are in consultation with all of our stakeholders, including Department of Health and Wellness and NSH, regarding their needs for the project. Lindsay Construction is there to provide constructability advice and to manage the sub-trades on site, to manage the drywall sub-trades, the plumbing sub-trades, the mechanical, electrical sub-trades. They'll be managing those sub-trades that will be on site, that will be actually doing the work, right? So and when we're committed to giving you that their fee for doing that work. Yeah.
Mr. McGuire?
So the second part of the question is, what is the ceiling on this project? So we know the floor is $15 million for renovations. Well, we know the floor is $50 million. What is the where's the stop? So if tomorrow this project is $75 million, faster, harder, quicker, stronger, whatever the slogans are, not the department slogan, the Houston government slogan, but where is the stop on this? Has there been discussions internally with the department, with the Premier's office, with the ministers about, okay, here's how much we're willing to go. We're not going over that amount.
Mr. Hackett?
I can start part of that, I guess, or maybe I can finish it. But so what Gerard mentioned, or Mr. Jessome mentioned about the CM model. The CM model is just basically a contractor, consortium, could be a consultant. They take control of executing the project for the department. We work with them. They basically hire the sub-trades and try to get the project completed under that method. So as they go forward, there would be a budget. I'd have to see what their budget would be, and they would work towards that budget. If the budget was going to go beyond that budget, we would have to go back and ask for more money to do the work. I don't think there's an endless ceiling in any project that we do. We have to go back and ask if these projects do go over a certain budget. So the CM would work towards that. If they came back and said we're going to go, it's going to cost us more for this or this, we'd have to go back and ask for approval. So I don't have a number that I have anyway, but Gerard's group might have a number.
Just yes or no, do you have a number?
Mr. Jessome?
We work within the allotted budget. I'm confident we can do it within the budget that's here. And we have a number of different processes that we checks and balances through the design process to make sure that we're within the budget range that we have. And I think we're certainly heading in that direction now. Yeah.
Mr. McGuire, 8 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to switch topics, but it's just troubling to me that there's no information, there's no, this is a government that took the previous government to court for management fees, which I think amounted to $100,000. This is a government that talked about transparency, and again, every single project along the way, there is no transparency from the government. We just went through estimates. We couldn't get an answer on them on a dollar, let alone 15 million. So it's very frustrating because this is where things go off the rails, and it usually ends up on the backs of our bureaucrats and the people working behind the scenes, which is unfair because you're taking the direction from the government, which is, to hell with process, let's go as fast as we possibly can because we have a 2025 deadline for an election. And we need to make it look like we're doing things. So I do hope this is successful, even though it's gone against every, the consultant that was hired said not to do this. We've seen the report. They said that this is not a good project, and it's not a good spend of taxpayers' dollars, but faster, stronger, harder. So the next question that I have is, I kind of know the answer to this one, but I just want to ask it anyways. We've done some digging, and we've seen a disproportionate amount of paving and gravel being done in conservative held ridings. Our MLAs have been contacted about projects, and the projects are still on the list, but they're being pushed out a couple of years or pushed out a year or two. This is what's happening now. And so when we did some digging, we found that a lot of the money that this government is bragging about spending is actually going in their own backyards. So my question to the department, has there been any conversation via phone call, text, in person, or email between the department and anyone from the government or the Premier's office with regards to the allocation of resources for paving and gravel, knowing that there's FOIPOP?
So I can start again, and then I'll hand it over to Mr. Peachey. So I don't get that involved with the 5-year plan anymore in my position. I did that for a number of years and put that together, and it's a daunting task. It's a hard task. It takes a long time to actually build that. It starts probably in February of this year and continues on to get it together. And part of that process, as Mr. Peachey mentioned earlier, there's a whole process of talking to the MLAs, the staff, trying to put a program together that identifies and addresses the needs of the province and the needs of the roads, and that would be both roads and bridges, and what the most severe would be, and trying to focus on those, which would be, getting the worst case done first. And so that's the way that the process goes together. We vet that through our whole group and our system. I'm assuming it's done the same way, and then it goes off for final signatures from the minister, and then released, as you've seen to make it public, and that's good for the next year. So what your question is about, ridings and different ridings and so on and so forth, where the money is spent, I'll hand it over to Mr. Peachey just to say, it's where it's distributed. But my understanding is most of these things are put together worst case first.
So before you
Mr. McGuire?
Before you hand it over, the question. So the recommendation comes from the department on the roads and where that money is being spent based on consultation with the MLAs, which I've done it, and I think it's a very fair process. The last year, when that recommendation came from the department to be signed off by the minister, did that recommendation stay the same, or was there changes made to the department's recommendation to what the final sign-off by the minister was?
Mr. Hackett.
I will say that, I'm going to hand this over to Mr. Peachey, but I will say this, that the 5-year plan has been in play since 2009, and every time we've taken it to a minister, it doesn't matter whether it was the NDP, the Liberal government, or the Conservative government, the minister has the final say on. So there's always a change somewhere along the way. There's always changes as we go through it, because not just the change of the fact of a road to a road, but also budgetary things, like can we squeeze this project in or we take that project out. So final say has always been with the minister at the end. And I don't know in this particular case, but every year there has been changes since I've been involved with this from 2009. And Mark, I'll let you kind of speak to this year's.
Mr. Peachey, just over 2 minutes.
Sure, yeah, the deputy basically stole my thunder. I mean, the process hasn't changed. I think this is the 14th or 15th year that we've had the 5-year plan. I personally go around and meet with as many MLAs as I can, go through the process. How it works is the area managers will go and they'll have meetings with MLAs throughout the year. Other elected officials have generated, complaints from the general public. They tally a list internally. There's 14 area managers. They take it to their director. There's 4 directors. The directors then prioritize based on what was given to them. The directors then will bring it into head office to myself and to the executive director of construction, Don Maillet. At that point, we will meet with all the elected officials, go through what we think might be at. In terms of changes, yeah, there might be budgetary things that come up where we're overcommitted, which happens almost every year, right? Whether it be through paving, bridges, that sort of thing. So then we present it to the minister and off it goes.
Mr. McGuire, 1 minute.
So was there any input on the final list, or was there any input to the office from anyone within the Premier's office? Was there any input from the Premier himself, or was there any input from the minister? And the thing I'm trying to get at is that we have seen, we know that the Conservatives hold the majority of the ridings, but if you look at it dollar for dollar, more money is being disproportionately spent in those ridings than almost ever before. And we know that we've had MLAs on our side who were expecting work to be done this year that have been told that no, it's being pushed off a couple of years. So the perception is that the money is being funneled into those ridings, and we know Nova Scotia has a history of, they used to say, frankly, Nova Scotia has a history of trying to garner votes by paving roads. And that's not on the bureaucrats, that's on the politicians of all stripes. So I think...
Order. Time for Liberal questioning has elapsed. We will now move on to the NDP questioning. Ms. LeBlanc.
Thank you very much. So this is quite relevant now, especially since Mr. Peachey was referencing brush clearing. So the Migratory Birds Convention Act, which is a federal law, lists bird species whose breeding areas aren't supposed to be disturbed. It lists species like finches and thrushes in Nova Scotia. And the provincial act, the Endangered Species Act, lists species whose habitat should have a protection plan. And we know that, the department does a lot of highway, like the brush clearing at the highways for lots of good reasons. But I also get lots of concerned emails, especially when I was the spokesperson for Public Works, about birds being in nesting season and that kind of thing, and then the brush clearing being done. So how are the department's trimming plans aligned with the laws, with the federal law and the provincial law, and what proactive work is being done to protect bird habitat?
Mr. Hackett.
I can start, but I'm going to hand it to Mr. Peachey. So just to go on the process. So we do have a lot of projects, not just brush cutting, just for for clearing of right of way for existing highways. We also have a lot of projects that we do brush cutting to build highways too, as well. So there is some processes involved in those. On the maintenance side, the brush cutting, it's kind of hit and miss on how those are tendered out and when they go out. But I'll let Mr. Peachey kind of elaborate more on the maintenance side and the brush clearing for construction.
Yeah. Mr. Peachey?
So there's two components, and I think you've kind of identified both. One would be maintenance work along the adjacent to trunks routes, 100 series highways, sort of more small scale. We follow all policies and procedures from both federal and provincial government, permitting and such through our contractors. And on the bigger stuff, the major work where there could be virgin ground, i.e. on the Aerotech connector, any one of these major works, there is a timeline, and it eludes me, so I'll have to get you the exact dates, but there's a window that's dictated by both provincial and federal governments where we can go in and do that work. Yeah, so that is clearly spelled out. I apologize, I don't have what those dates are, but I can certainly get you that, and we adhere to that.
Ms. LeBlanc.
Great, thank you. Just for these questions, I'm going to be picking around in different places, so sorry about so my next question is, can the department table a breakdown? So it's all these health infrastructure projects, there's a lot of them going on. We know that there's the HI, there's the Cape Breton Regional, there's the Bears Lake, there's stuff happening at the Dartmouth General, presumably, since a bunch of land has been bought. I'm wondering if there's a way to table a breakdown of current timelines and costs for each of the projects.
Mr. Hackett?
So I'll speak. Thank you. Thanks for the question. I'll speak a little bit to that. So we have an extensive amount of healthcare work underway, and then there will be planning for future healthcare coming as well. So, but just to break it up, I just want to make sure that people are aware that Dave Benoit, CEO of Build, is responsible for the HI project here in Halifax, and also responsible for the campus in Sydney or at CB, the Cape Breton Regional. Those are his two big projects, as well as the North Side project, Collaborative Center and New Waterford. And Gerard is responsible for all the other projects throughout the province, which would be expansions such as South Shore, Pugwash, I'm just going to name a few. There's nothing, maybe at one point when we did the expansion in Dartmouth, that may have been part of the HI project as well. There was, he can talk to that, and the IWK project. So I'll let Gerard speak a little bit to his projects and timelines and what he can give you, and then maybe Dave, you can talk a bit about the HI project in Cape Breton.
Mr. Jessome.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And we are doing something in Dartmouth. I say an MRI that we're installing over there. So that's we're on a tight timeline to get that done. We're on a tight timeline for that one. So there is other great healthcare projects across the province that we're involved in. I know HI is a great project, and Cape Breton are both great projects and large, massive projects, I guess. But we're really doing healthcare across the province in really in all areas. In Yarmouth, for instance, we're doing an emergency department. We're well in design on that emergency department, working very closely with the clinical folks in Yarmouth there. We're pretty much through design development. The design development drawings are being reviewed by all the stakeholders, so we'll be forging ahead with getting a Class B estimate for that project, and then we'll go back to Treasury Board for the funding to complete the project. South Shore Regional Hospital in Bridgewater, construction is well underway. I think we got a tower crane there in Bridgewater, so it's great to see. Foundations are being poured. We're on schedule for that one to open. The emergency department, the endoscopy unit, dialysis in 2025, I believe. So that project is going very well. In the northern part of our project, in the northern part of the province, in Cumberland County, we have the North Cumberland Health Facility, which is almost complete now. I expect to be completed construction this summer, and we'll be opening, late summer to early fall.
Ms. LeBlanc, did you want Mr. Benoit to proceed, or did you, Ms. LeBlanc?
No, thank you. I just want, you're reading off a nice chart there, and I would love you to table that chart for us. It's great that all that's happening, but I want to use my time for other things. But if you have that info, we want it. But thank you very much. So other provinces have a more robust system to track and manage conditions of their assets. For example, New Brunswick publishes the number and types of roads that are in good or fair condition, attached to targets for each type. I'm wondering, is the department working on something like this for roads, or maybe it exists? And I'm also wondering about it for bridges.
Mr. Peachey.
Thank you for the question. So we do monitor, I think I got your question right about the road networks. We do collect data through our pavement management system. We have staff that go out every year, collect data through our ARAN vehicle and other types of methodologies, and it is something that we do have internally. We do post some information, I don't know the extent of all of it, on the internet through our GIS group. And in terms of, what was your question about the bridges, sorry?
Ms. LeBlanc?
Yeah, same question. I mean, we've seen, excuse me, very tragic consequences when bridges aren't maintained. Will the province publish the condition and related targets for bridge conditions?
Mr. Peachey?
So we are, as part of the AG report back in 2019, we are moving ahead quite well with a new bridge management system. We have procured, it's gone through a procurement process, it has been signed off on, and that will be in play this year. I guess since 2019, we've hired a bridge engineer who will administer this. We've also hired a bridge maintenance officer who oversees and collects the data, and we'll be putting it into the new system that we purchased.
How much time?
Ms. LeBlanc, you have 6 minutes.
Great. The Auditor General has pointed out that the department's business plan lacks year-over-year target information that would allow for tracking and no detailed steps for achieving department initiatives. Things like spend amounts, target completion dates, or other relevant information. I'm wondering if the department will commit to including those types of details in future business plans.
Mr. Hackett?
It's the business plans that's set out by the, for us to complete by Executive Council didn't require target plans to be included in those when they were documented. But with that said, we do track all of our projects. We do have we don't just track them on schedule. We also track them financially. And most of our projects, at least our big projects, capital projects like health, education, major road construction, they have a cash flow process, and those cash flows are done year to year. So if it's a multi-year project, this is the amount of money we're allocated to spend this year, this is the amount of money we allocate to spend the next year. And in those allocations, it also explains what is to be completed in those years. So if it's supposed to be bridge work to be done in those years, it would show that's the money's being spent on. If it was a school, like the framework of the school, the foundation, that's what the money's being spent on. So we do have targets. We just have not been asked to publish those targets. And it's, if we were asked to do that or asked to put them in a business plan, we would do that. But we do it internally, but we just haven't been asked to do it otherwise.
Ms. LeBlanc?
Right, so I guess just to clarify, the Auditor General thinks you should do it, so, but it's the Executive Council that dictates it?
Mr. Hackett?
It wasn't asked for in the business plan. We were asked to put it together. I guess that would be the answer, yes.
Ms. LeBlanc?
Wondering if there are any updates on the Lancaster intersection. Is it still in the 5-year plan? What, is it still on track to be addressed in the 24-25 season? Or year, I mean.
Mr. Peachey?
I'm delighted to tell you that yes, it is in the 5-year plan for 24-25. It's currently under design right now. Our folks are working diligently on that with the expectation that it'll be constructed 24-25.
Ms. LeBlanc?
I can't wait to stand in the middle of the intersection and cut a ribbon there.
Mr. Hackett?
And it is published in the plan.
Oh, I know.
So it's in writing.
Ms. LeBlanc?
Something that may not be published in any plan is the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia. Is there any update on the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia project? What's the timeline for getting that back on the rails?
3 minutes, Mr. Hackett.
Thank you. Yeah, so from the government's perspective, they asked us to pause that project for now. We have not been asked to unpause it or unthaw at this point, so it's just sitting in pause at the moment. Our staff have kind of got it in a holding pattern until we're told to do something different with it, but right now it's still in pause.
Ms. LeBlanc?
Okay, recently the Auditor General pointed out that a contract management process for the Halifax Infirmary expansion is not complete. It doesn't bode well for a project that has major cost increases. I understand that the Bears Lake outpatient project remains on track and on schedule, but how can we be sure that weaknesses in the project will be identified without the AG recommendation being complete?
Mr. Hackett?
I'm going to ask Mr. Benoit to address that question.
Mr. Benoit?
Thank you very much for that question. Just to go back on an earlier question, and just to make the committee aware that today the Cape Breton is doing the largest pour in the history of the Cape Breton as it builds its first cancer centre as part of the Cape Breton Regional. There are two Auditor General recommendations that we're still working on. One of them is the one that you had mentioned earlier, and we will have a contract manual in place before HIEP is delivered, and we are working on that right now for the Bears Lake, because we do see it, Bears Lake, as you pointed out, is to open later this fall.
Ms. LeBlanc, minute and a half, minute 15.
So I referred to an RFP earlier for Dartmouth North, for health infrastructure in Dartmouth North, and Mr. Jessome answered with the comment about the MRI. So I'm just wondering, my understanding is that there is an active RFP out for Dartmouth North for some kind of, I think it's like a 20,000 square foot building space. Any information that anyone in the department can share about that RFP?
Mr. Hackett?
I don't have anything that I know, but it may have come through us, just may not have come to me. I don't know. Gerard, maybe answer it.
Mr. Jessome? 30 seconds.
No, I'm not aware.
Ms. LeBlanc?
Well, just for the record, that kind of freaks me out, because it's like on the website, or maybe it's just because it's the procurement department. Is that why you would not be aware of it yet?
Mr. Hackett?
Yeah, it may not be through us. It could be through NSH.
I see.
Yeah, so they could be procuring a project that we don't do all the work for them. They do some of their own. Yeah.
5 seconds.
No further comment.
All right, over to the PC caucus, and Ms. Sheehy-Richard.
Yeah, I'm just going to finish up and pass it on to my colleague, but we were talking about safety, so I just wanted to go back to that and discuss a little bit. Maybe you can talk about how the Road Safety Advisory Committee works on ensuring that the highways are safe for the province.
Mr. Hackett?
Sorry, I've just lost my note here on that, and I'm just trying to find
Ms. Sheehy-Richard?
While you're looking for that, I also wanted to know if you could discuss a little bit about who actually makes up the committee and how it works together. Thanks.
Mr. Hackett?
So the last meeting for RSAC, the Road Safety Advisory Committee, was in 2022. There was no new road safety issues at that time in the meeting. But some of the things that they do talk about are all, well, you shouldn't say some things. They do talk about a number of items that would be identified to road and road safety, and that would be things with regard to the roads themselves, things like signage, lighting, crosswalks, those sort of items. Also things relating to the vehicles, vehicle standards, child safety in vehicles, things like speed zones. And so that committee looks at a variety of different items, and they provide recommendations, things to make improvements right here in Nova Scotia, but they also look at what jurisdictional reviews are across the country too, and trying to stay with those standards. The current members of I guess I should just basically say in general, the role is to provide strategic advice and recommendations on road safety and create a forum for sharing road safety and knowledge and expertise. The current members, non-government members, Insurance Bureau of Canada, Child Safety Link, Safety Services Nova Scotia, CAA, Injury Free Nova Scotia, Workers' Compensation Board, Law Enforcement, Police Chiefs Association Nova Scotia, and the RCMP, and the government. The provincial government would be Department of Health and Wellness, Justice, Seniors, Nova Scotia Municipal Relations, Department of Public Works, specifically the Policy, Planning, Traffic and Engineering Road Safety Divisions, and our comms and the RMV section. We also have the municipal government, HRM is involved with that, and Dalhousie is involved with some of our research.
Ms. Sheehy-Richard?
Very good, thank you. And then one more final one is the Department of Public Works is responsible for seeking federal funding, infrastructure projects that relate here in Nova Scotia. Can you confirm that all the Investing in Canada infrastructure project funding has been allocated, and also how much of this has been completed since August of 21?
Mr. Hackett?
Thank you. Sorry. Thanks for the question. Yes, I can confirm that all the funding for the federal funding has been allocated, not all spent, but allocated on projects and going through approvals. Since 2021, it was 40% of it has been allocated since that time, since September 2021.
Ms. Sheehy-Richard?
Thank you. I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, MLA Taggart.
Mr. Taggart?
Thank you, Chair. Very happy to get a chance to ask a couple questions. I kind of, I'm typically you'd expect to get a bunch of questions from me about rural roads. That's not where I'm at right now, but I do want to say, I appreciate, I guess, what the government's done and what you folks are doing with rural roads right now, given, we've talked about funding here, rural roads, we received them in deplorable condition, and I can speak to that with, my CA could speak to that this morning, quite frankly, given what we face in rural constituencies. But anyway, so we got a lot of work to do there, and appreciate what you're doing. But to the bigger picture, I just kind of like, so we're trying to grow Nova Scotia, as a government, we're trying to grow Nova Scotia, and so the Halifax International Airport is a critical part of that, and you have that growth, and as outlined in the department's 2022-23 business plan, developing passenger and cargo routes as part of the department's mandate. Who can speak to a little bit about any of those developments and how that's been made on this front? So how we get along there?
Mr. Hackett?
Yep, I can answer a bit of that. Thanks for the question. So it is part of the department's mandate to help the airport with their cargo and destination. We do work hand in hand with our Department of Economic Development for that, and we do work with the airport authority. And it was, I guess, part of our mandate came around because of COVID. As many of you, we all lived through that, and still living through some of it. But obviously through that, the airports and the tourism industry and commercial traffic took a really heavy hit, and I think their cargo sped up some, but certainly on passenger traffic it went down substantially from 2019. So we've been able to work with the airport authority on providing them with funding, $13 million for the Air Access Fund, which is used to encourage airlines to choose the Halifax International Authority to come here and use that as a point. And the fund also broadens its scope to seek new domestic routes along with the international routes. And we work closely, like I said, with economic development on that. In 2023, the department worked with HIA to amend the Air Force that fund agreement to provide more flexibility and incentives available, which would increase how long air access funds could be used, and more incentive for domestic flight routes in Canada. So we're working very closely on that, trying to get the airport back to where they were in 2019 numbers. I know that on another kind of separate note, not so much on the air traffic, but we are working with them very heavily with the Joint Regional Transportation Agency on providing them, looking at better services to the airport, better transportation to and from the airport in time. Could be bus routes, could be light rail train, that sort of thing. So we're in very, very good collaboration with the airport quite frequently, and we're really trying to help their business out there as well, as it is a key point of transportation for the province.
Mr. Taggart?
Thank you. I do get to go back now to my favorite subject. So we've seen the allocation, and you mentioned it in your opening remarks about the gravel road program in last year's budget, and the allocation of the Rural Impact Mitigation Fund more than doubled. Can you discuss the numbers regarding the effects that we are seeing on the ground because of these increases?
Mr. Peachey?
Thank you for the question. I'll start with the gravel roads. With the funding that's in place this year, we will be able to gravel approximately 500 kilometers worth of roads, which is significant. To put that in context, when we first started that program 6-7 years ago, we were able to do about 100 kilometers of road. So we're up fivefold to that point. And I can go through again, I kind of went through the numbers earlier for RIM, but our standard, so when initially we had $11 million, we've doubled that to 22, and for this year we're getting an additional 14, so that's $36 million worth of funds there. There's also $6 million that we have in operating that we put towards asphalt as well, so that's actually $40 million. Significant amount of that money is going to be allocated to brush cutting, as I alluded to earlier. Then our standard brush clearing, ditching, shoreline protection, and guardrail and ditching.
Mr. Taggart.
Thanks very much, Chair. I actually thought you were going to say a significant amount of that money was going to be targeted for Colchester North. You want to finish that up there? No. But anyway, I just want to jump a little bit to Joint Regional Transportation Agency, and Mr. Hackett mentioned a little bit earlier about better, transportation in and out of the airport, and we talked earlier about in and out of, the 100-mile radius. And I just want to lay this out there. I understand totally where you're started, and you got great work to do, but I just need to make the comment for consideration, that it's a lot easier for somebody to get from 100 miles out into HRM or into the airport than it is for them to get to 30 miles out into those other urban centers, okay, that have a little bit better mass transport, at least have a bus line, you know what I mean? So keep that in, as you look at this big picture, right, it's very difficult for folks to get from those rural communities towards the urban hub, and rural Nova Scotia is growing significantly over the last 2 or 3 years, and I think it's going to continue. So we need to make sure, sorry, but this is transportation, we need to make sure that we don't stymie that growth because of the inability, for that type of transit. And do you have any thoughts on that, Mr. Peck, or anybody? Sorry.
Mr. Peck.
Good. Thanks, Mr. Taggart, for the question. Apps, so I think I'll tackle it in 2 points. First is the importance of looking at that 1 hour commutership first. And within that 1 hour commutership, it's the movement of people and it's the movement of goods as well. Your point, population growing, looking at 2 million for 2060, will certainly have an impact on the residents of Nova Scotia, rural residents as well. And that thought process in terms of how we move people and goods will impact and will certainly have under the lens the rural component of Nova Scotia. We're going to start with the first area involving 15 municipal units. HRM is the largest one. I've mentioned before, they've done tremendous work, but it's bringing the people in and getting the people out of the urban center that's important, and recognizing the importance of the movement of goods and people in rural parts of Halifax regional municipalities and others. Middle Musquodoboit's a great example in terms of how people come and go, and so to be mindful of that. I think it's really important too is the great work that's done by the community transportation networks throughout Nova Scotia. I think it's Greg Sewell, I think that's the department lead on that program. I think Deputy Hackett mentioned some of the numbers that the dollars that are put forward to providing community transportation for rural Nova Scotians as well. So that's point 2, and just to summarize, I think absolutely it is top of mind for us as we develop this regional plan.
Mr. Taggart.
Thanks. I appreciate that very much. I have to get that plugged in because I'm not sure that everybody really recognize, and I don't have the numbers. The only way I look at population growth in rural communities is by increase in enrollment in schools, and so it's up like 20% in my community. So I just want to make sure that, because this whole picture, transportation or regional transportation, it all plays a critical role in the growth of our communities. Sorry. So I guess another question for me would is who can give me an update? We already had a bit of it from Mr. Jessome there, but an update on the important hospital projects currently underway, because it was, I know you started that, and I'm kind of, but we've had a lot of questions about this should have been done, that should have been done, that kind of thing. But there's great work being done. I'd like to hear about it, please. Sorry.
Mr. Jessome, just over a minute.
Yes, thanks for the question, Mr. Taggart. Yeah, so yeah, we got many great projects that are currently underway, some in construction, and I started naming a few previous. North Cumberland Hospital will open this summer, or will be finished construction and open late summer, early fall, and that is a great facility there. I think the community was totally involved in developing the scope of that project and involved in what it's going to look like when we open it. We're also working in Cumberland County. We're working on a project there. It's an emergency department, a new emergency department, as well as a 12-unit dialysis complex. Right. So that's we're right now we're on the street for a collaborative design builder, which will hire a contractor and a designer as a team, and we'll work with them to begin construction there. This delivery method gets really shovels in the ground a lot quicker. And it's really a collaborative.
Order. Time for PC Caucus questioning has elapsed. At this time, Deputy, you're free to make closing remarks if you would like. Mr. Hackett?
If you can hear me. Yes, so thank you, Chair. I just want to mention a few things at the end. First of all, thank you for having us all here today. I hope we provided you with the information you were looking for and answered your questions thoroughly. We will provide updates as we were required. I just also want to say thanks to Mr. Benoit, Mr. Jessome, Mr. Peachey, and Mr. Peck for being here with me today to support me and to help answer these questions and be in front of you. And I just also want to thank the department and our staff and all the great work that they do. And we have a big year coming up this year, largest capital program in the province's history, $1.6 billion. And it's going to be a big task for us to get that done, but we have the people that can do it. We have great staff in the field, we have great staff in head office, and I just want to thank all of them for their work, their hard work to date, and their hard work going forward. And once again, thank you for having us here today.
Thank you very much to all of our panel participants today. You are now free to go out into the world and build things, etc. And we'll proceed along with committee business. There is no committee business. Our next meeting date is April 19th. It's in camera. Office of the Auditor General will be our witness, and it's regarding the 2023 report of the Auditor General, follow-up of 2018, 2019, and 2020 performance audit recommendations. If there is no further business, I now adjourn the meeting. Yes.